What is a VantageScore 4.0 and why in the world do I care? Also, our home price is crashing. Get that question all the time. Going to address that. And last but not least, what are rates doing today? So I'm going to go ahead and jump into all of those with you. Thank you for tuning in and joining with me. Looking forward to this time, actually, to address this topic. So the Advantage 4.0 is a new credit report. It doesn't always make sense to people, so I'm going to do my best to help it make sense. I'm going to share on my screen a snapshot of the old credit scores versus the new credit scores now. So what you're looking at is an example of a credit report, and this is the 3 bureau score that we pull. And as you can see, Equifax has a program tied to a credit scoring program called Beacon 5.0. Experian has the FICO 2, and the TransUnion has the FICO Classic 04. Now, all three of these programs are different programs for pulling credit reports. What that means is Equifax has data, and that data is obviously comparable to Experian's and comparable to TransUnion's, but it's their data that they've aggregated. And then the Beacon 5.0 is a program that judges that data, that creates a credit score based on that. And that's what you see here is a 741 versus a 770 and 731. Now, don't get too wrapped up as to why that's bold. It's just bolded because it's the middle of the three. So it could easily be Experian or TransUnion whose score is bolded. It just is the middle of the and this is what we have used in my industry for all of my career. So I don't know how long ago it started exactly. I think actually in the 90s. And they've been talking about changing it to things like FICO 10T and other things for at least a decade, probably longer. They have not changed it though. And part of the reason they have not is because it is really, really hard to predict what's going to happen when you change one of the criteria. So if you remember in science class in junior high and high school, they talked to you about the scientific method, and they talked about how you can change one variable, but you can't change others. Otherwise, you don't know what change is bringing about the difference. The Vantage 4.0 is kind of that. It's kind of a whole new process. And so before I get any further into it, why has it taken till now to get into the Vantage 4.0? Well, like I'm saying, if we had changed any of these three all along the way, then when the banks, they look at your credit score, and because of the millions of loans that have been done over the last 20 years, they know if you've got a 741, then this is how many of those loans go bad in a certain amount of time. And so they can predict and they can calculate and they can give us accurate interest rates depending on that risk. Or if your credit score is a 641, they know how many of those are going to fail. But when they change the program, so if you took this FICO 2 and put it across Equifax's, it would be changing the program. Now, that's why they haven't changed it over all these years. So why now? Why are they trying to change it? Well, number one, Vantage is not FICO. So FICO has a problem in that they've become very greedy. And in the last couple of years, they've changed their automated programming to cost a whole lot more. It now costs me at least $132 to pull somebody's credit. Just a couple, 3 years ago, it was $32. And that was for a single person. If it's more for a married couple or a couple of any kind. But honestly, the markets don't really have any clout to make it. There's been a lot of backlash, and FICO doesn't care. The credit bureaus are taking a lot of the blame for it because they charge as well, but it's really FICO. FICO is an independent source that created the scoring software. Now, what is Vantage? So Vantage is a new credit scoring software. Now, this isn't new to all of you and me because we've had new credit scoring software for years. When you go pull your credit report for an auto loan, it's not one of these three, the Beacon 5.0, the FICO 2, or the FICO Classic 4. It's not one of those three that's used to pull your credit score. It's a completely different scoring model designed for car loans if you're pulling it to get a car loan, or for credit cards if you're designing that, or Credit Karma, they reverse engineered their own. And there's a whole bunch of others that have done the exact same thing. So just because you pull your FICO score, I want you to notice this is a FICO score. This is also a FICO score. And guess what? so is the beacon. And so just because you pull your FICO score doesn't mean you pull these FICO scores. And again, this FICO scoring model with Equifax, that's what's going to create this score. Well, fast forward to about a year ago, President Trump appoints Bill Pulte as the FHFA director. FHFA is the organization that's in charge of both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and has a lot of clout with FHA and really all of housing. And so Bill Pulte came out and said, hey, we're going to start accepting VantageScore 4.0. And I think he mentioned another model as well. Well, the whole industry kind of shook when he said that, because this is the guy at the top telling us that we're going to start accepting it. The problem is me as a loan originator, if I pull a Vantage 4.0, I got nowhere to take it, right? Because there's not a lender in the country that would accept it as a credit scoring model. I had to keep pulling FICO Classic. And so it's interesting to consider that when he said that, we all thought, well, first off, he's our boss, and so we better start following. So the industry started making adjustments, and this is what you're seeing now, is when I pull a credit report now, I don't just get the old, I also get the new side by side, so I can see what the differences are, so the statistics can start to be accumulated. But Vantage 4.0 is just that. It's a new program, same data, new program, and it calculates your credit score differently. As you can see, the scores are different. Now, a 741 is a pretty good score, but an 806 is a much better score. And if I was only pulling my Vantage score, I would actually have a much higher credit score. And that is what's happening right now. So now that you understand what VantageScore is and where it came from, why does this matter to you? Well, it matters because of this. First off, there's only 3 lenders that I'm aware of in the country that are actually accepting it yet. Fannie Mae, I can't remember if it's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both accepting it, but one of my lenders is accepting it for all conventional loans. Another lender is accepting it only for 80% loan to value or lower, meaning 20% down payment or lower. But if I have that situation and I pull an 806, my interest rate and mortgage insurance is going to be better than if I pull a 741. So in this client's case, we're able to go to the 806 if we go to one of those 2 lenders. He is also planning on putting 20% down, so that worked. So anyway, why would I care? Well, because we now have basically 2 chances of having a better credit score. Also, it costs half as much as the FICO score. So FICO's got competition on a national scale at this stage. And I imagine we're going to start adding some others to it that are also separate entities that cannot necessarily be greedy. So there we go. That's what the FICO 4.0 is. It's an alternative credit scoring model, aka a new program, a software program that's going to create a new credit score from the same data. And then number 2, why does it matter to me? Because it gives me better options potentially. Not always, but potentially. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting to share is others that I've talked to about this. One of them had a 612 score, I believe, and their Vantage score was actually a 759, I think it was. Why the difference? Honestly, we don't know yet because we're learning, because this is all brand new. And so we're finding out, what does Vantage score? What do they add? And it is believed that Vantage score is adding potentially self-reported utilities. Your cell phone could be one of them, self-reported rent, those kinds of things that make it to the credit score, to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. Those kinds of things can potentially be graded by Vantage 4.0. So that's the kind of one of the key ingredients as to why it makes a difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. People ask all the time, and I've been hearing this for I probably didn't hear it much prior to 2008, but after 08, after 2012 really, I've been hearing it ever since. It's a constant concern, is our home price is gonna crash? Or what I usually hear is home prices are gonna crash. I'm gonna wait for home prices to go down. And so I've talked about this extensively, even in the last 2 weeks that I've posted videos. I've talked about this, not in the same way though. So go back and watch those videos because you'll find good information as to why it won't. But today I wanted to basically address, there's an article that came out. I thought I would talk a little bit about it because it talks about the actual genuine threat. But let's differentiate between a crash and prices going down. So home prices go down all the time. It's watching home prices is kind of like watching really any stock or any value of anything. At times they will shoot up, straight up. And then at other times they're gonna move a little bit more like the pattern of a yo-yo that a kid is using as he rides an up escalator, right? Now, what everybody's concerned about is that he's riding a down escalator, and maybe a steep one. That is not gonna happen. What we experienced in '08 was the result of overbuilding for extended periods, several years. The reason the builders kept building is because credit was next to free. They were able to borrow a lot of money and lend it out all over the place. And frankly, any borrower could get a loan. If they were brave enough to put their name on the dotted line, they could get a loan. And so there was just a lot of false demand. House of cards, you've probably heard it called. And that false demand created real demand in the marketplace, which drove prices up until it was soft out. And in 2008, it started to really be soft out. Too many people had leveraged themselves too far, and there just wasn't enough demand for housing, and so things like vacancy started to happen. And this little house of cards thing kind of all started to fall down when a few people started having a hard time making their payments because the rentals were vacant. And then that kind of catapulted and kind of turned into a snowball effect of lots of people that couldn't make their payments. And then so a few more people would kind of pull back. And what it was the households, American households, were so far extended out that they just started kind of recoiling, and kids started moving back in with parents and stuff like that. Well, how do we care, and what do we care about today? Are home prices crashing today, not 2008? What happens today? And I've talked about that over previous videos, but I wanted to show this one because I thought it was interesting, and it brings up a really good point. So you can see MBA, so that's Mortgage Bankers Association. They're one of the largest mortgage, what am I going to call them, lobbying group, I suppose, in the country, the Mortgage Bankers Association. White paper, it's just a report, basically, warns that housing supply may outpace demand. That's the part that we all have to watch for. And to be clear, there's nothing alarming about this article. I see articles like this all the time, but it's just on Housing Wire. You can search that title, you can find it. I'm not going to bother putting the link in because not that wonderful of an article. But the reason I thought it would be interesting to highlight is, number one, it is important to pay attention to the housing supply, and that's new construction. And it's important to pay attention to the demand. And demand's harder to watch. There's not really a really good indicator for watching demand. And so what you watch is the inventory, the supply as it goes, and watch the inventory. And if the inventory kind of stays steady or in line with previous years, but if it starts to swell, pay attention. Now, you got to be careful. Inventory just 3, 4, 5 years ago, let's see, going back to 2020, 2021 was the all-time lowest record of inventory. It was so ridiculously low that if no more listings came onto the market in parts of 2021, every single home for sale would be sold inside of 30 days. Everything across the entire country. It was so bad, so low that we had, today, presently, we still have less listings, homes available for sale, than we did in 2012 or 2008, when the housing market was really swelling. We have 12 million new homes, or almost 20 million new homes that have been built since 2012 in America, right? We have 92 million homeowners in America. Well, almost 20 million of those are new homes. And with that larger supply of homes, you would think we have a lot more homes for sale because there's a lot more people doing stuff. We still have less homes for sale today than we had during the Great Recession. So that'll put a little bit of perspective. We don't have tons of inventory. We have a healthy amount of inventory. During the pandemic, we had a ridiculously unhealthy amount of inventory. If you owned a home, it was fantastic because your prices skyrocketed. But other than that, it was really, really painful for a lot of people to try to buy homes because there were so few available. So what do you want to watch for? Home prices crashing? 100% absolutely not. Watch the last couple weeks of videos for more details. Are they correcting? Are they going to go down? There may be moments that they go down over the next few years, little moments. But as each year goes by, most markets across Utah, most markets across the globe, the nation, you're going to see them continue to level up. Probably not by a ton, 1%, 2%, maybe 3% a year. The only reason that will likely change is if our interest rates skyrocket or if our interest rates drop in a dramatic way. Interest rates hanging out under the 6% threshold for an extended period, maybe getting even closer to the 5.5% national rate, 5.5% for an extended period. Things like that will drive home prices up faster because it'll increase demand, because there's a massive amount of would-be demand, pent-up demand, but they're having a hard time gripping that reality of buying it. So that's kind of what I thought I'd share about home prices. Let me go ahead and finish up with interest rates. All right, so FHA, VA rates, you can see them on the screen. They are a little bit better than last week. Conventional, just marginally better. They should be quite a bit better. So we had the worst jobs report come out this week and downward revisions in previous jobs in recent history. It was terrible. And of course, most of the markets don't really respect the BLS jobs report anymore. It's been so wildly wrong for so long, but usually it's wrong in the positive direction. This time it was very negative, way under expectations, and very anemic growth, and all in the wrong sectors. But it's still a BLS. So everybody's like, is this real? We'll see. So the market was reacting positively to that and improving our interest rates positively to that, because bad news is good for interest rates. However, it didn't continue to improve because then we had a couple of Fed speakers. The Federal Reserve has taken the front seat in the headlines for years now. The past administration kind of felt like that was useful. The current Fed chair thinks that's not useful and is probably still working on reining in some of his other voting members and governors. A couple of them were speaking, quite frankly, unintelligently. It was a little surprising that somebody of such an elevated seat had such foolish things to talk about. But hey, who am I? Just some little not know anything Joe here in Utah. But sure doesn't seem like she really knew anything that she was talking about. It was some pretty inaccurate data. She was talking about so gas prices are down, you know that, right? So before, in February, the national interest rate was at 5.9, and so that's decent. Right now it's at 6.6. It was at 5.9, and the gas prices were at 67 bucks a barrel. Right now, today, they're at 68 bucks a barrel. They were all the way up at 117, and then they came down to 68 now. So that makes sense that our gas prices are probably going to come down. Well, the Strait of Hormuz was closed for months. Now it's open and gas is starting to move, and that's what's brought the price of gas down so low. Well, our gas pumps don't show it all yet because there's a lot that's got to make it through the system. It'll take a couple of months. But as it does make it into the system, then we're going to have deflation in those kinds of prices. Well, this Fed president was suggesting that could cause inflation, because then everybody's going to have all this extra money in their pocket and they're going to go spend it and boost up prices of all. And that's just so far off the rocker. It's crazy. Anyway, their argument is if it goes too high, there's going to be inflation. If it comes too low, there's going to be inflation. Come on. So anyway, as it sits, interest rates are still present here. They're still really good. Don't get too short-sighted here. I don't know if they're going to come all the way down to 5.9 again. Well, and remember, 5.9 that you see on my screen, that's not the national average rate. That's the rate I can give you right now. The national average rate, rates were better than that. I was quoting probably 5.3 at that time on my conventional rates, just to be clear. Anyways, that's basically it. Hopefully that's helpful to you. And if you have any questions or comments, please message below.